Hey guys, welcome to Online. My name is Addison. I am 15 years old and I am from Seattle, Washington. I started this podcast because of my passion for becoming a sports broadcaster. If you want to listen to today's most controversial topics in the sports world, you have come to the right place. On the Line will keep you informed about all the hot topics and news regarding all sports. Tune in every Sunday for a new episode. I hope you enjoyed this week's topic. Don't forget to share the podcast with all your friends and follow On the Line on Instagram at on_the_line_Addison. Thank you. Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Line. My name is Addison, and today I'm here with high school senior Brookelyn Ringenbach, and she is a golfer. So, hi Brookelyn.
Hi Addison, how are you?
I'm doing good. I am so excited to do this. Seriously, it feels like so long ago when I reached out to you and when we planned this time, but I also feel like time has gone by really fast. I don't know, time is just really weird right now.
I totally get that. I think you reached out to me about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so this has definitely been in the making for a while.
Yeah. How's school going for you?
It's really weird doing my senior year online, and not being able to see all my friends is kind of sad, but, it's what we're dealing with in this time, and so I'm just powering through, hoping that maybe we get some sort of school, but...
Yeah. Well, I really feel for those seniors. It's kind of a bummer to have your last year of high school be online. I feel like obviously it's difficult for everyone, but I think that the seniors are one of the classes that are the most impacted. So I'm sorry that has to be your senior year where you're stuck online.
Yeah, I'm still able to see some of my friends and we're able to have practice and stuff. So it's not all terrible, but it does suck not being able to see my teachers and all that.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, could you just tell the listeners a little bit about what brought you to golf?
Honestly, it's a really funny story. So my dad was a really big golfer. I grew up in Snoqualmie, and we lived on the second hole of Snoqualmie Golf Ridge Country Club, and he wanted to spend more time on the golf course, so starting from a young age, around 5 or 6, he would bribe me with ice cream to go to the golf course. And so every time I'd go to the golf course with him, I got ice cream. And I slowly just started to play more and more. And then I made a lot of friends in the sport and started playing really competitively. And now I'm here.
Wow, that is actually a really great story. I think that's the best one I've heard yet about how someone got into their sport that they're playing now.
I mean, you can't say no to ice cream.
No, especially at 5 years old. That's exactly a great bribe. Your dad knew what he was doing.
Yes, he did.
All right. Well, what is your home course or the course that you're practicing at now?
I am working on becoming a junior member at Everett Golf and Country Club. For school, we use Overlake Golf and Country Club. And other than that, I kind of just float around. I practice at Bellevue, at Willows, and at Newcastle.
So do you have a favorite golf course in Washington? I know my dad's favorite is in Suncadia. I don't know if you've heard of Suncadia.
I love Suncadia. Suncadia is a great course. It's super challenging. I'd have to say probably my 2 favorite courses in Washington State would be over in Chelan. We take family trips over there every single summer, so I'm very familiar with the area. And the 2 that are my favorite are Bear Mountain, has great views of Lake Chelan, and Gamble Sands is another big one that I really like. It's super wide open, so it's really hard to not play very well because you always have a good shot into the green, no matter where you hit it.
Yeah, that's nice. I always hear my dad, he does not like when there's a lot of trees on the course.
It's much harder with trees on the course, for sure.
Yeah. I'm notorious for hitting the ball in the water, but
Yeah.
and I used to golf when I was younger, and I know my dad just like wishes I had stuck with it, but it just wasn't my thing. But sometimes we go and we play just the Willows 9 hole.
Yeah. That's a nice little area. They're actually hosting state next year for junior golf.
Oh, really?
So it won't be a super far drive. This year it was in Spokane, so.
Oh, wow, yeah. Definitely Willows is a much better drive.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite golf course, like out of state, or a dream course that you want to play at?
I think everyone who knows the game of golf or has heard of this course is probably a dream course. My dream course is to play Pebble Beach in California. So I really want to play there. Augusta would be another really cool one. That's where they play the Masters every year. Really hard to get an invite, though, there.
Yeah.
But one that I've played out of state, I really like Arrowwood Golf Course. It's in Encinitas, California. I had a tournament there over the summer, and it was a really cool experience. Is
there something that you look for in a course, or something that makes you drawn to a course or like a course?
That's actually kind of a tough question because there's a ton of different courses. So the ones up here are super narrow with lots of trees, which makes it difficult because you need to hit the ball straight.
Yeah.
And in California, the fairways are super wide open. So what makes it so difficult is the slope of the course and how uphill some of the tee shots are and how you have to hit it into different areas. So courses are made very different depending on where you go. So it's all about just how you play that course and how you're able to take the challenges that the course throws at you.
Mm-hmm. There are some beautiful courses, though. It's crazy.
Yeah, that would be a really cool job, is to design some golf courses for sure.
Yeah. My dad and I were watching the one, I'm totally blanking on the name, but it was like with Phil Mickelson and Steph Curry.
Oh, that match that was a couple weeks ago. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I totally blanked on the name, but that course was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really pretty course.
But it looked very challenging. And honestly, I did not think it was fair that Steph Curry was paired with Peyton Manning. But,
Steph Curry's a pretty good golfer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, really great. It's so not fair that he's good at two sports. It really isn't, but... So what's in your bag? Meaning, like, what are the clubs that you use? What are the golf shoes, golf balls, etc.?
I use Cobra Speed Zone clubs. I got those for my 16th birthday. So that's my new bag. I have a Scotty Cameron putter. I play Titleist Pro Vs as my ball. And my outfits are normally Nike polos and Lululemon skirts and Nike shoes.
So is there something that you look for in a good golf ball or in a good golf club? Because I know those are really important factors to those who are playing golf pretty professionally and seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the player. I've grown up playing Cobras, so I like the feel. I like how when I hit the ball, the launch angle of how high the ball goes when I hit them. They're just really reliable for me. But it all depends on the player. I have friends who love TaylorMades and who love Titleist clubs. So it really just depends on you and your feel with the club.
Yeah, so do you have like custom fitted clubs, or is that something?
I do.
Okay.
I do. So the custom part with it is the shaft and how fast you swing the ball or like swing the club. Mm-hmm. And so I have custom shafts. I hit men's regular shafts, and they are, I don't know how tall they are exactly, but I'm 5'4", so they needed to be cut down a little bit because they were a little too tall for me.
How old are you, or when do you start getting like custom fitted clubs?
This is my first pair of custom clubs. So I got them when I was 16. My first pair, set of clubs that I got, I was like 8 or 9, and they were just the out of the box. You can order them on Dick's Sporting Goods or Amazon even. Just an out of the box and it comes with a driver, a putter, a 7-iron, and a wedge, I think, just to get you swinging. A lot of little kids use them. And then when I was 12 or 13, I made the decision to quit basketball and focus on golf full time. So I got what my dad called my big girl set of clubs, which I went to a golf store to purchase, and I got Cobra Fly Z's. So that was all the clubs in the bag. So you have the sand wedge, pitching wedge, gap wedge, your 9 through 6-iron, and then your hybrids and your driver. But those were they came manufactured the way they were. And then this set that I have now, I actually went to a club fitting. So you swing all different kinds of clubs with different shafts and all this stuff. And you pick which one feels the best, and then you make your set out of that.
I feel like golf in specific, and especially golf clubs, it really has to be custom to you and what feels right to the golfer. Whereas in other sports, I feel like it's not as specific, or you don't need something that is custom.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, all the pros that you see on tour, they all have custom clubs. Most college players have custom clubs. So yeah, it definitely is manufactured to you and the person that you are, which is something that's really cool about the sport.
The biggest thing that baffles me in watching golf and trying to play is reading the stupid greens. It is so difficult, and I just don't understand it. So how do you read the greens? I mean, that sounds like a dumb question, but I'm genuinely
curious. Really challenging to learn how to do it. I mean, it's still a struggle for people. Like, I still struggle with it sometimes. It's hard to know, how far you want to play the ball outside the hole and how hard you're going to hit it. Honestly, the best advice I can give is just lots of practice. When I'm in a tournament, you mark your ball, and I'll look from all angles of the hole to see how much of the read is going to be. And then really you just got to trust your gut. You got to trust all the practice you've done. Put yourself, pretend like you're just practicing, and put yourself in that position of you've done this thousands of times, and you just got to trust your gut. And sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. And you just got to hope for the best.
It's just hard because sometimes the greens are extremely fast, or you barely have to tap the ball and it goes so far. But then other times they're so slow, and it's
really hard in the summertime too, because in the summertime you're playing tournaments on the weekends, you're practicing every day of the week. So you're playing, I think I played 50 courses this summer at least.
Oh, wow.
And they're all different. They all have different green speeds, different ways that the greens are, different hole locations, all that stuff. So you really just got to practice. That's a big thing that I do when I'm prepping for a tournament is I sit on that putting green for 2 hours and just practice how fast those greens are.
What is your favorite part of the game? Is it driving, putting, chipping? Do you have a favorite?
I really like hitting my driver. It's super fun for me because I know when I'm standing over the ball that I can just crush it, and it's most of the time going to go down the center. It's definitely my strongest club in my bag, because if I'm ever mad, the first place I go is the driving range, and I'll just get a bucket of balls and just smash my driver. So I've gotten really, really comfortable with that club. So I definitely love hitting my driver.
Is there a part of the game that you struggle with or you don't feel as comfortable with?
I wouldn't say I feel less comfortable with it, but it's just the hardest part of the game is short game. Chipping and putting is just the most difficult part. There's all different kinds of chip shots that you can do. You have bunker shots and flop shots and tight shots and longer shots. So that's definitely the thing that I need to practice the most, but I don't love practicing because it's just there's so many different shots that you need to practice that it just takes a really long time to practice.
So I'm just curious, what does your practice look like? Are you, how many courses are you playing a week? Do you focus on each part of your game for a certain amount of time each day? What does your practice look like?
For sure. So, Mondays and Tuesdays, I normally am just at the range for 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, just practicing all my long irons and woods and driver. Wednesdays, I have conditioning, and so we work out and really get those muscles built up, because that's where all the yardage comes from, is getting those strong leg muscles, strong ab muscles, getting your shoulders to be super rotatable. So conditioning on Wednesday, and then Thursday I'll do short game. So I'll work on chipping and putting. And then Friday and Saturday is when I normally play. If I don't play on Friday, I'll work on some more short game, but I normally play Saturdays, and then I take a rest day on Sundays.
I think a big misconception, and I fall guilty of this, is thinking that golf is easy, or it's just like a leisurely activity, something that, it doesn't take much work, not much effort, but really you don't see everything when you're just watching someone play. And
no, the hardest part of golf is the mindset. Mm-hmm. And staying positive. When you hit a bad shot and you're in a tournament, normally that tendency is to drag you down, and you get all bummed out about one bad shot. But the key is to put a bad shot behind you and just focus on the next shot. And so, I'd almost say that the mental game of it's harder than the physical game.
Interesting. Yeah. A question my dad told me to ask you was, why do you think golf is so tough? And I think you just answered that right there. And it's the mental aspect of it.
Yeah. So. I mean, after a 2-day tournament, I'm exhausted. And it's not because I walked 12 miles in 2 days or because I hit 70 shots or whatever it is. It's because my mind was working so hard. You're thinking of, when you're on the tee box, you're like, I want to be on the right side of the fairway versus the left side of the fairway. So what do you do to hit the shot over there? And then if you end up on the left side of the fairway, are you going to hit a punch shot out, or are you going to try and go for the green? So there's definitely a lot of thinking that you have to do when you're on the course that not a lot of people think is really challenging, but it is.
It seems like you really have to be knowledgeable. You can't just be good at just hitting the ball. You really need to think things through.
Very true.
So how have you been able to continue practicing with COVID? And also it's so rainy here. So does the rain stop you, or do you just play in all sorts of weather?
To be completely honest, I hate practicing and playing in the rain because it's cold and disgusting and I don't like doing it, but I have to do it. So you have your long sleeve shirts and you have your vests and your jackets and you get all bundled up and you wear your rain pants and long socks and you stay warm. I normally fill my hydro flask with hot tea versus water. And so you just try to stay warm the best as possible. And with COVID, it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would. They've made a new rule where you can't touch the flag. So when you're putting, there's a circle, they almost cut up a pool noodle and put it in the cup. And so your ball just kind of sits on top of that. So it doesn't go all the way in the hole. So you're not touching anything. And golf's a very individual sport. You can easily stay 6 feet away from people. The challenging part is in the clubhouse, but it's as long as you have your mask on, you're fine. And same with the driving range. You go in, you get your balls, have your mask on, and you're easily 6 feet away from people at the driving range. So you can take it off if you want to.
Well, it sounds like it'd be very miserable to be a golfer in Washington, because during the fall, winter, and spring, it's basically raining.
Yes, there's
70% of the time.
There's lots of rain, but it is nice for tournaments because kids will come up from Oregon, California, come from Montana or Idaho, and they will struggle playing in the rain and even the wind that we get sometimes. Mm-hmm. And if you're used to practicing in it, it's not as big of a deal. It's always nice when it's sunny. It makes golf just a little bit more fun. But, you get used to it after you've been playing for so long that it doesn't bother you as much anymore.
At least you have a leg up in a tournament, Yeah. And I'm also glad that, you've still been able to practice. It's nice that pretty much throughout all of COVID, we've still been able to go to the golf courses here. How long was it where you couldn't go to a golf course?
It was 3 or 4 weeks, and it was the longest 3 or 4 weeks of my entire life.
Oh, I bet, because you're going from that's your life to, okay, what do I do now?
Well, and I had just gotten cleared from an injury that I'd had for 10 months. And then everything happened with COVID and everything started shutting down. So I was able to golf for about 2 weeks after 10 months, and then everything got shut down. So I was just super bummed about it. So as soon as golf courses opened up, I golfed every single day.
You're like, perfect timing, timing, universe. But yes. Tell me about your injury. What happened?
I've had lots of injuries, and I don't know why. Started in 8th grade. I have a genetic thing called Dupuytren syndrome, where basically your muscles in your fingers and toes lock up and sometimes require surgery. So I had surgery on my left hand, and then healed in a month, was fine, back to golfing. And then in my right hand had a really, really sharp pain. So tried figuring out what that was for 1.5 years, and it ended up being that I had a benign bone tumor in my metacarpal bone on my right hand. And then got cleared from that, was playing golf for 6 months, and then got injured again with nerve damage down my entire right arm and was out for 10 months.
Wow, that is quite the road of injuries.
Yes, it's been a long haul, but we are officially healthy and back on track, knock on wood. So I'm hoping that I don't have any more injuries. That's definitely changed the way I've practiced. It used to be that I'd practice for 5 to 7 hours every single day, and my body just can't handle that. Mm-hmm. With all the impact and speed of going through the ball. So I've had to shorten it to about 2 to 3 days.
Well, my fingers are crossed for you that you don't run across any more injuries, because that's the last thing you want. So
yes, thank you.
Have you ever been to a PGA tournament?
I have been to the Bowen Classic, which is held at TPC Snoqualmie every August. It's a senior PGA tour. So Freddie Couples, John Daly are 2 big people who play in that. And so I go to that every year. Mm-hmm. I was crossing my fingers that I'd be able to go to the U.S. Open next year at Torrey Pines. But with COVID, I don't want to buy tickets and book my flight and stuff and have it be canceled or have people not be able to go to it. So as of yet, I have not gone to a PGA tournament, but I have gone to the Bowen Classic.
Oh, bummer. And that's too bad. COVID just ruined everyone's fun plans.
Right?
Who's your favorite golfer?
Professional or amateur?
Either one.
Okay, well, my favorite professional golfers are Ricky Fowler, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, and Tiger Woods always has to be on that list. Let's see who else. Jason Day is a good one. Phil Mickelson, super funny. Bubba Watson, and Justin Rose. So those are my top 8. My favorite amateur golfer, I'm going to have to say my boyfriend. He's a very amazing golfer. He always beats me, which I hate very much. But he's very, very good and really fun to watch.
Well, I'd love to interview him sometime, so if you want to pass the word on. Who do you think is the best golfer right now?
Dustin Johnson, I'd have to say. He just won the Masters with a phenomenal score. So, yeah, he's he's doing really, really well for himself right now.
So what are the two biggest mistakes you see amateurs make while trying to golf?
Their mental game just is not strong enough. They will hit a shot and it'll be okay, but it's not what they were doing on the driving range, and they'll get super bummed about it, and then it just sticks with them for the rest of the round. So their round doesn't turn out as well as it could have. That's one. And then swing-wise, a lot of amateurs just stand up during their swing as they're trying to make contact with the ball, which doesn't give you the full contact that you would have. So you hit the ball a little thin and it doesn't go as far as it normally would. So I'd say those are probably the two biggest ones that I notice.
Wow, you really just exposed me there. Thank you. I definitely fall under those two mistakes.
Everyone goes through them at one point. I can admit to doing it still too.
Yeah, I just remember going to Willows and I'm like hitting 10 times to get to the green and just getting so frustrated because earlier I was hitting at the driving range and going straight and far, and then, you just get onto the course and the ball goes 10 yards.
Yeah.
It's
how golf works.
Yes. Yes. How many tournaments do you play in a year?
It varies. I think I played in the most tournaments that I've ever played in a year this year. So there was probably 11 tournaments. So my entire month of August, pretty much, I had a tournament one weekend, flew to California, had a tournament, came back, had a tournament, went to Spokane, had a tournament, came back, went to Walla Walla, had a tournament, came back. So yeah, it was a very busy month.
That's insane. That is a lot of tournaments. How are you able to keep your body feeling good and just not get burnt out?
Honestly, it's a thing that people don't think about when they're on the golf course, but you need to eat food and you need to drink a lot of water. Because especially when you're playing in the summer and that heat over in Eastern Washington or in California, that really drains you out, and it drains you out really quickly. So I always have Lunchables, Pringles, Brookside chocolate-covered blueberries, and some sort of fruit with me when I go on the golf course. So I can just snack while I'm playing. And I'm always normally hungry after I get off of the golf course, even though I'm eating this entire time because you're just using so much energy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably my biggest secret, is not to get burned out. You need to eat and drink on the course.
Sounds simple, but really nutrition and hydration does go a long ways in sports.
It really does.
Some days when you're just in the heat all day golfing, you really just need to make sure you're fueling your body correctly so it can do its job to the best of its ability.
Exactly. And by the time you're thirsty or by the time you're hungry, it's already too late. So I don't eat food before tournaments because I just get not nervous or anything because I've played in so many, but I just have a weird feeling in my stomach. So I just can't eat before I play. But easily by the second hole, I'm eating food.
So what exercises do you do that doesn't involve swinging a golf club that helps your golf game? My dad watches. I know I keep bringing him up, but that's just what I can relate everything to.
They know about golf. Well, I have conditioning on Wednesdays, and at my golf academy in Issaquah, and so we have a full gym. So we do sled pushes, box jumps, dumbbells. We do squats. We have a special golf machine. I don't even know how to explain it. So yeah, it's just really working out like you would if you go to a gym, but you're just focused on the specific muscles that you need for golf. So really focused on leg muscles and core muscles. So we do lots of sit-ups and lots of core exercises. So my core is always in pain, but it's okay.
So what is the importance of your core and your legs in golf?
Well, really, all of your movement and your turn comes from your core. You have to have a really tight core. And that's another thing that amateurs don't really understand, who are just kind of getting into golf, is you have to have a really tight core to get the most out of your swing. And you have to have really strong legs because you don't want your lower body to be swaying. Your upper body and your lower body are almost separate from each other in a golf swing. So you want strong legs so you are planted on the ground, and a tight core so you can really get the most out of your swing.
Along with your strength training and like going to the driving range, what are your go-to golf drills?
I honestly go back to the basics, which is position A, position B, and then C. So position A is taking the club halfway up, position B is taking the club all the way up, and then C is just going through the swing. To really just simplify the swing, especially if you're going through a swing change or something like that, the golf swing can get very complicated and you can have lots of thoughts in your head about what to do in such a short amount of time through a golf swing. So I just like to simplify it as best as I can and do position A, position B, position C.
What my dad does, okay, another thing my dad does, because he's very into golf, he has a net in our garage, and he's out there for what seems like hours every day, just golfing into the net in our garage. And He will write notes on our outdoor fridge that we have of things that he sees in videos. And he'll just, when he's not in the garage golfing, he'll just walk around the house practicing his golf swing without a golf club. He does it in the mall, in the grocery store. Do you ever do that? Just walk around practicing your
Yes.
swing?
It's so subconscious too. I'll be standing in line at Starbucks or something like that, and I'll just start doing my golf swing. And like my mom will be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, muscle memory is a key to golf. It's if you can get your golf swing and your muscle memory, then when you step over the ball, that's like you don't even have to think about anything. So you're not thinking, oh, where's this ball going to go? I hope I get good contact. If you've done your golf swing enough times, it'll just be muscle memory and your body will know exactly what to do.
I thought my dad was the only one. He's going to listen to this and then make fun of us. And be like, see, every golfer does that. It's not just me.
It's very true. Yeah. I mean, I have a huge window in my house and I'll just stand in front of it. I won't even have a club sometimes, but I'll just stand in front of it and I'll just make sure my spine angle looks good, and I'll just do my swing and just get it dialed.
So there's a lot of golf course etiquette. So what do you see people doing on the course that bothers you the most?
Oh my God, I was just having a very heated conversation with my boyfriend about this. Slow pace of play is the most annoying thing, where people will take like 6 practice swings in before they hit their ball, and then they'll hit it like 10 yards. And like, I understand new golfers don't know how to hit the ball as well or whatever, but you don't need to take 6 practice swings. It takes way too long. Same with putting. People will take like hours just like doing a putting stroke. And I'm like, okay, take 1 or 2 and then just hit the ball. Mm-hmm. My boyfriend and I always have discussions about when we play in tournaments, the boys normally go off first. And pace of play when you're playing on a golf course is normally about 4 to 4.5 hours. Tournament is normally about 5 hours. Well, the boys always go off first, and they're just so slow. And the boys think we're slow when we go off first. But the boys are slow because they'll sit in the middle of the fairway on a par 5 on their second shot and will try to get to the green. And they'll have like 300 yards. And some guys can, like my boyfriend can easily do it, but most of them can't. So it's like, you're not going to get there anyways. Just please hit your ball so we can hit our drives. So that's really annoying. So yeah, just slow pace of play. Because I love golf and I love being there, but I don't want a 6-hour round.
Yeah, and I also think it depends on the course you're playing too, whether it's like just a par 3, like, I don't know, say Willow's just the 9-hole, where, you know, most of the people there, it's just like maybe something they're doing with their coworker, like nothing too serious. But then once you get to like 18-hole courses, that's when it's like you really need to take it seriously and not hit the ball 4 times and take 20 practice swings.
Exactly. So on my high school golf team, we have a rule. If you shoot for 9 holes, if you can shoot in the high 30s to low 40s, you're only allowed to take 1 practice swing before you hit the ball. If you shoot in the high 40s to low 50s, you're allowed to take 2 practice swings. So just to keep up pace of play, because that's the worst thing is when you go out and play golf and you're just sitting on every tee box and then you're sitting in the fairway and you're just waiting for people. It goes back to mental game where you get in a rhythm when you're playing. Mm-hmm. And when people play really, really slow, you kind of lose track of that rhythm. And that's a thing that throws a lot of people off, is you want to stay in that rhythm as best as you can.
I didn't even think about the rhythm of it, but now that you're explaining it, it sounds so true. I mean, obviously, because you're saying it, but I feel like that just gives you more time to think and, maybe become anxious and overthink things when you're just sitting there.
Exactly. Another thing, especially when you're playing in the winter, is you have it gets cold. And so your body, when you're like walking and then you swing and then you walk, you stay warm. But when you're just standing there, you're losing that body heat, which makes it more challenging. Like when your fingers freeze, and this happens so much, when your fingers freeze, it's really hard to like grip the club and feel it in your hands. But if you have that rhythm going and you were playing at a consistent pace, then you wouldn't really lose feelings in your fingers.
So moral of the story, if you're a young golfer or someone who's just starting out, make sure you don't take an hour per hole.
Yes. Or just go on the driving range if you want to get into it, or play a par 3 course. But not until you can get your pace of play down to 10 to 15 minutes a hole do I suggest you going to a 18-hole course.
What has been your greatest accomplishment so far as a golfer?
My high school team won state 2 years in a row. That was really exciting. We were hoping for a 3rd time last year, but because of COVID, our season got canceled. I won the most inspirational player this last year in my district. So that was really neat.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. And, one of the most rewarding things is just meeting new people through the game. I have so many friends now who I can just text and be like, hey, we should go play golf. You meet people from other states. I have friends in Idaho and California and Montana who all play golf. So it's just really rewarding meeting new people and getting those connections.
Yeah, it sounds like the golf community is a really great community, and it's a great way to meet new people and with common interest. And it's also fun because you can just say, hey, you want to go play? So
yeah, exactly. And it's really funny because when I was in California, I was golfing with this girl, and you share your whole life story when you're on the golf course. Because, you have nothing else to do for 4.5 hours. So you just start talking and talking and talking. And they're like become one of your best friends by the end of the round. And it's funny because boys are not that way at all. It'll be like, oh, how was your round? And I'll be like, oh, yeah, like I met Maya and McKenna and we talked about this and this and this. And they're like, what? And I was like, well, what'd you guys talk about? And they're like, nothing. We played golf. And I was like, oh, that's so boring. Like, that would be so boring just walking the course, like not talking to anyone. I couldn't do it.
That's like a definition of a boy in one scenario.
Right?
I'd be asking like all these deep questions, and then
that's exactly what happens. They almost turn into therapy sessions, which is really weird because you start out as like complete strangers. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh, like what's your Snapchat? Like, let's like go play golf again soon. So
going back to you mentioning how your team won state 2 years in a row, what do you feel brought you to that accomplishment or helped you get there?
It's high school golf and how I explain it is it's like rec basketball. And then competitive golf is like select basketball. And then obviously there's the pros and college golf. So you get a ton of different people who want to play high school golf, people who've never played before, people who are really competitive, people who their dad talks about it, so they kind of know what they're doing, but not really. So you get all these different people, and you really just become a family, no matter what your differences are in golf or anything like that. And so we've been really, really fortunate to have some really, really good girls on our team. We have 7 girls who consistently shoot in the mid 30s to mid 40s, which for high school golf is really good. And so we've just been really fortunate to have consistency like that, which some other teams don't get. So I think that was a big thing. And, it's all about, like, we really work on team bonding. We'll go to team dinners and we'll have sleepovers and cookie makings and all these different things, because that's also a really important thing. You want to know that if you're slacking a little bit in your game and you're not playing as well, yes, golf is individual, but somebody else could be having the round of their life out there. Mm-hmm. And so they could be carrying you and getting you to that victory. It's not just you.
Yeah, team relationship is very important. It seems like.
Yeah, that was one of the hardest things for me when I went from playing basketball to playing golf, because basketball was such a team sport and golf was individual, and I was just with my dad, and I would fight with my dad because he'd be like, "You're doing it wrong," and I'm like, "I'm trying my best," and I was always just with my dad. And then I got into high school and it just completely changed. It was their team sport again, and I had another family, and it made the sport a lot more fun.
Well, you mentioned like a little bit about college a couple minutes ago. So do you have any plans for college? Is it something you want to continue, or?
I have offers from schools, and I am sadly not going to be taking any of the offers that I've been given, just because the schools don't have the major that I want to do. But the schools that I have applied to that have the major that I want, I might try and walk onto the golf team. I want to play golf in college, but I want to major in kinesiology and then go into medical school. So that's just a lot of work. And I want to make sure that I have time for that, and that golf isn't my number one priority and that school is. So I'm still trying to figure it all out, but it's definitely something that I'll continue doing in college, whether it's just playing on the weekends or joining a club or something, but I'm definitely going to continue playing in college.
What I've loved about pretty much everyone I've interviewed, and you as well, is that everyone has said that they put school first and they put their education first. And, I've talked to people who are D1 athletes who have scholarships from different schools, but all of them say that although they are really dedicated to their sport and they love it so much and they want to continue it as far as they can, school does come first for them. So I think that's really admirable.
It's been easy to balance in high school, especially with it being online. I get out of school at 11:50 pretty much every single day. So I have the rest of the day to be able to practice or go play or like have that flexibility. But in college, it's definitely going to be different. There's definitely going to be more work, less understanding of just like kind of dipping halfway through the day. And so I really want to focus on school, which I don't do as much in high school, which my mom was like, "Are you sure you're going to be able to do that?" Because I do prioritize like golfing and hanging out with friends over schoolwork. So it will be an interesting change, but hopefully I'm able to walk onto a team in college and have those tutors that they give you and all the help that you get when you're an athlete in college.
Well, good luck in your future endeavors.
Well, thank you.
So I think to close this up, I would just like to ask one final question, and that is, what advice would you give to amateur golfers or golfers that are just starting out?
It's a long and hard road to be a good golfer and to get to the part that you want to get to, but just you can't give up. You got to keep practicing even when you don't want to. You got to just grind your way through it, because when you're able to succeed and get the goals that you've wanted to achieve for so long, it's the best feeling in the world.
Well, thank you so much, Brookelyn, and it was so nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Would you like to just shout out your Instagram so those of you who are listening can go follow?
It's Brookelyn, BROOKELYN.Ringer.
And I will have that in the description as well, so you can just click on the link there if that's easiest. So, yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening. Thank you, Brookelyn, for taking the time out of your day to come do this interview. I seriously appreciate it. Well,
thank you.
Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.